It's over. It's finally over. Now what? Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, a podcast where you don't have to do Packers time, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Goodbye, Aaron Rodgers. Be well. Grossi, and today, breaking news, even though it's happened now a couple hours ago, Aaron Rodgers has finally been traded to the New York Jets. And now, of course, everybody wants to know who won the trade, because months and months of, oh, Joe Douglas has the leverage. No, Brian Gutekunst has the leverage, and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's finally done. I never have to hear the word leverage ever again, ever. But I did want to make a quick video kind of breaking down the trade, what the Packers got, what the Jets got, and why I really think that this is just a great trade for both teams, because it just works for both of them. So let's break this down real quick. So the New York Jets, they are going to get the following things from the Green Bay Packers. One, and most importantly, they are going to get Aaron Rodgers. In addition, they are also going to be swapping first-round picks with the Green Bay Packers. They originally held the 13th overall pick. Now they hold the 15th overall pick, so they just slid down 2 spots. And finally, they will be receiving a 2023 5th-round pick, pick 170 from the Green Bay Packers. So that's what the Jets get. They get their quarterback that they wanted, they get a 5th-round pick, and they move down 2 spots in the first round of this year's draft. Now, the Green Bay Packers, what did they get? They move up 2 spots in the first round, swapping and getting the 13th overall pick. They get a 2023 second-round pick from the Jets, pick number 42. They get a 6th-round pick, pick 207 for this year. And the most important thing they get here is a conditional 2024 second-round pick that can turn into a first-round pick if Aaron Rodgers plays 65% or more of the snaps this season, which is very likely to happen. So let's break this down from the Jets' perspective, and let's break this down from the Packers' perspective now that we have both of these things laid out. So why is this a win for the New York Jets? Well, there's a lot of reasons. One, they just gained a Super Bowl window. They just went from being a non-playoff team and having Zach Wilson as their starting QB to now having Aaron Rodgers. They are going to now be competing for a divisional title. They will be competing likely in the playoffs. So the team just got a lot better, whether it's for a year, 2 years, doesn't really matter. They are now going to be a good football team, or likely going to be a good football team this season. In addition, they did not have to give up this year's first-round pick. Instead, they just moved down 2 spots. That is huge for them because they can go and get an offensive lineman if they want to. They can build around this team that now has Aaron Rodgers at the helm. That's enormous. In addition, they barely gave up anything for Aaron Rodgers when you break it down. They gave up a second-round pick. They already had 2 because of the Elijah Moore trade. So they basically are just rocking with their second-round pick that they already had. And in addition, they're giving up what is likely to be a first-round pick next year, which is going to probably be in the high 20s or low 30s, depending on how well the Jets are going to do. So they're not going to miss that anyway. And at the end of the day, to have a Super Bowl window, whether it's for a season or 2 seasons, is almost priceless. On top of that, they're going to sell so many tickets, so many jerseys. This is going to be rejuvenating for the New York Jets. So they absolutely got a big win here. And now let's go over to the Green Bay Packers, because they didn't do too shabby either. The Green Bay Packers, one, they dealt Aaron Rodgers, a player that was obviously not going to be their quarterback, not going to be on the team this year. The fact that they got anything for him is a great get, because he wanted to retire, then he wanted to get traded. And the Jets knew this. Every team knew that Rodgers was not going to play for the Packers. So the fact they got any compensation, that's a win in of itself. In addition, they get rid of his $60 million contract. Now the Packers are still going to eat some dead cap because they still owe money to Aaron Rodgers. It was reported by Tom Pelissero that Aaron Rodgers is going to restructure his deal with the Packers to ease the cap hit for them. So that's a good thing. But the Packers move up 2 spots in this year's first round, which is great considering there are not a ton of first round draft grades for a lot of these prospects. So to move up at all, they could potentially get a really good edge or a really good tackle. That's a home run. In addition, they get a coveted second round pick this year, which they definitely needed because they need to address a couple of spots on their roster, and they could go get an edge and tight end in the second round because this is the draft to have day 2 picks. And the most important thing is that conditional second rounder, which will likely turn into a first. Aaron Rodgers just has to play 65% of the snaps. He played over 65% of the snaps, and he had a broken thumb last season. So unless there's a catastrophic injury, that is going to happen. So we're likely going to get a first round pick, and it's not contingent on Aaron Rodgers playing another season with the New York Jets. That is enormous because then you're able to say, okay, if Jordan Love is the guy, not only do we get to surround him with some better talent this year, but we also could do that next year because we're going to have 2 first round picks. Or if Jordan Love isn't the guy, then you could potentially trade up and get your QB of the future if Jordan Love doesn't work out. So that's why for both sides, this is really a win-win. You could look at it from the Packers' perspective and go, listen, like they don't have to pay the $60 million anymore. They got a first round pick next year, which is going to be likely, and they got a second, and they got to move up a couple of spots. That's pretty good for a guy who was owed $60 million who wasn't going to play on your football team this season. And for the Jets, they got their QB. They don't have to start Zach Wilson, and they theoretically only gave up a second round pick. They moved back a couple spots, and they gave up what is likely to be a first round pick next year, which they're not going to care about because, again, that draft pick is going to be higher. So kudos to Joe Douglas and Brian Gutekunst because I think this is a great deal for both sides. Both teams and fan bases should be very, very happy with this deal, and it got done before the draft. So now both teams can just focus on their draft board, what they're going to be doing, and we don't have to talk about this anymore. Now, just to add on to this, Aaron Rodgers, even though he was offered to wear jersey number 12, is going to wear number 8, which is what he wore when he went to college in Cal. So that's a nice little story. And I know this is still kind of like a weird day for Packers fans, even though like it had to happen. We knew where it was going. The problem is, unfortunately, it got dragged out, in which this was announced, and then we just waited and waited and waited. And so, again, it's a little bit bittersweet because I'm always going to appreciate Aaron Rodgers playing for the Green Bay Packers. He dedicated nearly 2 decades of his life to the Packers, and I will always be appreciative of that. I wish him well in New York. I hope he does really well in a very difficult AFC. And as for the Packers, it's a new era now. It is Jordan Love's season. For only the 3rd time in my life, there will be a new quarterback under center this September starting as the Packers quarterback, which is a crazy thing to think about. But both teams, I think they made out. Packers, it's a new chapter, and the Jets, now they get to go chase a Lombardi. Pretty good deal. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Which team do you think won this trade? Let me know. You know, send me at TomGrossiComedy.com or TomGrossiComedy, all social media, see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.